parts of the Caribbean, Florida, and Houston. Hurricanes have caused widespread flooding and unprecedented damage. First, Hurricane Harvey with its historical amount of rainfall over Texas, then a string of massive storms, including Irma devastating parts of Florida, and Jose causing a path of destruction in places like Puerto Rico. The recent onslaught and strength of these storms is raising many questions atmospheric scientists are trying to understand, including questions about the linkage between hurricanes and climate change. And joining us this morning at the Red Table is one of those atmospheric scientists, Dr. Ian Falkins from Dalhousie University. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
What do you take away when you see those images and all that devastation that we just shown down in parts of the Caribbean, Florida, and Houston?
Yeah. Well, it's incredible. You know, hurricanes are incredible natural events, and they're one of the most devastating events that happen in nature, and they're just awesome. Yeah.
Now, you're from the Department of Physics and Atmospheric Science at Dalhousie, so you study sort of tropical systems. What's your take on this hurricane season so far?
Well, it's been very active. We've had two Category 4 hurricanes and two Category 5 hurricanes, and that by itself is very unusual. It's probably one of the most active seasons of this century, and also most of those hurricanes have hit land, actually, and so many very powerful hurricanes never do, so that's a difference as well. So it's been a very significant season for sure.
Yeah. What do you think is causing such this strong impact of these hurricanes? Just the strength of them and the timing of them. We hear warmer waters, we hear climate change. Can you just give your take on it from your studies?
Well, it's different for every hurricane. For example, Hurricane Harvey had that huge rainfall impact because it was going into Texas, and then it stalled and sat there and then turned around.
Yeah.
So that stalling is really what produced the huge rainfall events over Houston, those rainfall amounts, those record rainfall amounts. But for other hurricanes, yeah, the sea surface temperature makes a difference, and so changes in sea surface temperature over the globe could be increasing hurricane intensity.
What decides the path of these storms? Because obviously we're day to day here in most newsrooms, we're tracking these paths.
Yeah.
Are they going to affect this area? Are they going to affect that area? And they change day to day. So what causes that?
Well, hurricanes, we think of them as big, but they're actually relatively small relative to the large-scale atmospheric flow. So, like, as a first approximation, they're just blown around by the ambient weather systems, especially the Bermuda High, so that they typically just come across from Africa with a trade wind flow, and then they kind of curve up into North America often.
Now, there's a big debate among many people, including south of the border, whether climate change affects hurricane seasons and the strength of these storms. Can you just give your quick take?
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about what convection is, because hurricanes are basically a great mass of convective clouds organized in a spiral, right? So a convective cloud, if you think about it, is just basically one of those clouds, the fluffy white clouds or cauliflower clouds in the atmosphere. So they're produced by buoyancy. So if you put water on a stove and you heat that water from below, you create a convective circulation because the heat from the stovetop is creating lighter fluid. So that's what happens in the atmosphere. We have warm ocean temperatures creating lighter air. That air rises and the water condenses and creates massive amounts of heat. So that's what we're doing with climate change is we're increasing both the temperature of the ocean and the temperature of the atmosphere. So it's hard to understand what the net impact is going to be in some ways.
So it's hard to tell if this is a trend that's going to continue with the strength of these storms and the ferocity of them?
That's right. So the last sort of big scientific assessment was 2013, and that was kind of not very clear what the actual trend was. But we do know that sea level is rising, and that will increase the damage from every hurricane, and also human houses and so along the coast are increasing as well. So those two factors are going to increase the damage, I think, as time goes on.
Let's bring it closer to home now here in Nova Scotia. We've seen some effects from hurricanes over the years. Where do you assess Nova Scotia and our geographical stance in terms of a hurricane's path that come up from the Caribbean? Are we in for more storms here, or are we pretty much, you say we're safe due to certain...
Well, to some extent, the Labrador Current protects us because hurricanes, what happens is they start to die as they go over cold water. So especially in the early part of the hurricane season when the Labrador Current is still cold, that means that we're like kind of protected. However, as the Labrador Current warms up in September, and we're less protected. And also a big factor for us as well is whether the trees have leaves, because that determines whether a strong wind can knock over a tree and say hit one of our houses, right? So that by the middle of October, a lot of the trees have lost their leaves, so that threat is reduced. Yeah.
So quickly, we're almost in the home stretch for hurricane season. We're almost out of it. A few more weeks left, would you say?
Well, yeah. So in terms of the damage that can be caused by to Nova Scotia, especially caused by falling trees, I think another few weeks should help that. Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time today. Very knowledgeable information. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
And we'll keep an eye on all those hurricane tracks as they do.